Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. All right, I'm going to just show you a couple important things we should be watching this week. And then at the end, I want to show you a pretty cool little technical analysis pattern that just occurred in the microcap stock. So that should be pretty interesting to watch. Pretty interesting thing to watch there. Uh, but anyway, here's the S&P 500, right? This is where we always start because this is the most important of the benchmarks or the indices or however you would refer to them. And we could see we're getting close to a level that was resistance before, and we're overbought, right? This red line is the upper Bollinger Band. It's 2 standard deviations above the 20-day moving average. This is important because a lot of trading algorithms and programs these days are based on statistics. 95% of trading should be within 2 standard deviations of the mean. So if we get above that, that's going to draw sellers into the market who are anticipating a reversion, and their selling could put pressure on it. So getting close to resistance, overbought, good chance we kind of start to stall out a little bit here. Probably in terms of stocks, probably the most important thing to watch here is Microsoft, because Microsoft doesn't get the attention these days. I guess that Nvidia does, but it is the biggest stock in the market. I think it's about 7% of the S&P 500. And S&P 500 is 500 stocks, and one of them is about 7%. So there tends to be resistance at levels that had been support. That's because there's people who bought back here who regret doing so now that the price is lower, assuming they didn't sell it and they still hold it. And a lot of them tell themselves, if this gets back up to my level and I get out of break even, I'm going to. So remorseful buyers placing these sell orders could put a top on this, or it could form resistance here. So this is going to be an important thing to watch over the next few days. Something else that, the CPI is coming out this week, and they're saying it's what, 3.x%. Come on, anyone who's been into the grocery store lately knows it's higher than that. And let me show you this. I mean, frankly, I think we're going into like another big inflation spiral here. And it really just comes right down to one thing. It's government overspending. And they keep doing it. Every time someone gets a student loan forgiven or we send money to some other part of the world, they're not taking it out of the cash register. They're printing it out of thin air. When you add more money to an economy and the amount of goods don't increase, well, guess what? That's inflationary. So the ISM services report came out. And what is amazing is look at this. Prices are up 5.8%, okay, in a month. So how does that equate to 3.x% in a year? Inventories are up 8%, which means things aren't selling. If something doesn't sell, what happens? It goes into inventory. Price is going up. We had that GDP rating that's going down. And we do not have the strongest economy in the world, regardless of, what President so-and-so says. I mean, we're 1.8 or 1.6. What's China? Like, 5 point something. There's probably 30 other countries in the world that are, higher than us. But I guess when you tell lies for 50 years and no one calls you out, you just keep doing it. But this is important. Prices up 5.8% in a month. Big increase in backlog. All right. So now the other thing I think is really important to watch is going to be this action in the financials. So let's take a look at the financial sector over here. This is at a level this is a little bit overbought. This is at an important level. There tends to be resistance at former resistance levels. People bought here that are underwater and they're like, if it gets back to my level, I'm going to get out of break even. So this is buyer's remorse manifesting itself in a different way. And there's a reason why there's a peak there. It was a peak way back here. There tends to be resistance at former peaks. There, and who knows, we might be about to see it again. So Microsoft is important to watch, and then XLF is going to be important to watch this week. And within the financial sector, I think the most important thing to watch is the banking industry. All right. I mean, it looks like it's breaking out, but it's a little bit too soon to be confident about that. So, I think this here is going to have a big effect on what goes on in the financial sector. And what goes on in the financial sector is going to have a big effect of the broader markets, especially if Microsoft fails and starts to head lower and this rolls over and starts to head lower. we could be getting set up for a pretty meaningful sell-off. All right, let me just show you this little kind of cool technical analysis lesson. So sometimes, well, let me just start again. Reversal patterns are all about like, is the trend changing? We don't need to get too caught up in the like, oh, is it a head and shoulders pattern or is it a V pattern? I've seen so many people waste so much time debating whether it's this or that pattern over the years. But there's a pretty clear pattern here that tend to be um, pretty reliable. So if a trend reverses over a long period of time, it shows up on the chart as like a rounded top or a rounded bottom. If it happens like in a short period of time, couple days or time frames, could show up as like a V, like down here, like a V bottom for obvious reasons. That's where the name comes from. So this is the reversal over a few days. And like up here, you could say this is a V. I mean, this could be numerous patterns. Someone might say it's this, someone might say it's that. Bottom line is this. The red team took over from the blue team. Reversal patterns are about watching who's in lead. And when that leadership changes, that's when the trend changes. So this is what we would call in the Japanese world of candlestick charting a bearish engulfing pattern right here. This is when the trend changes in one time period. There was one right back here that actually played out perfectly. The blue team is in charge. The blue team is in charge, pushing up. If you were to look on this day in the morning before the market opened or when the market opened, you'd have said, oh, it's going to be another day where the blue team is in charge. We're opening higher than yesterday's close. But what happened? By the end of the day, the sellers knocked the hell out of this thing and pushed it all the way back down. And importantly, we closed below the prior day's open. The reason why I say that is because there tends to be support and resistance at openings and closings. So the fact that this thing could just blow right through where there was probably some support at the close and probably some support at this open, this shows the red team or the bears are taking over in one time period. So that just happened over here. Same thing. Blue team is in charge. Blue team is in charge. On Friday morning, you would have said, gee, this is going to be another up day. We're going to open higher than yesterday's close. But by the end of the day, the sellers push it all the way back down and we close down here below the prior day's open. So just remember, don't get too caught up in like, is it this pattern or is it that pattern? It's all about, does the leadership change? Is the red team taking over from the blue team, or are the bears taking over from the bulls? Vice versa. You see, there's another V pattern there. But no one's going to pay you because, like, oh, you call this pattern, you call that pattern. How you'll get paid by the market is when you recognize that these trends are changing. So it's not the name of the pattern that's important. It is the action that the pattern illustrates. Charts are a graphical illustration of psychology and supply and demand. And if you don't look at them through that prism, you're going to have a really hard time understanding that. Oh, look at this. More technical analysis lessons here. Levels that were support can remain intact. Support there becomes support here. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. I hope this helps. And I hope to see you soon. Thanks, everyone.